Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles Savans, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we have a very serious show for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and sub to the channel. Be sure to follow me on Instagram. My handle is CTABANZ. So let's get into today's topic. So yesterday, a bombshell dropped, and it was the Pam Bondi's DOJ, President Trump's DOJ, releasing the Epstein files, or which was supposed to be the Epstein files. And when the news dropped, it became a total frenzy to the point where the DOJ's website was actually crashing. It was that much traffic and people trying to gain access to these files. But luckily, we were amongst the people. They were able to gain access to the files. And what I quickly figured out was that it was a bunch of nonsense. The entire thing was heavily redacted. Almost everyone his face was blacked out. You had hundreds and hundreds of pages with everything redacted. And I'm like, what is this? Is this meant to be transparency? Is this what transparency looks like? You have officials in the Trump administration talking about this is the most transparent administration in NBA in world history, in USA history. I said NBA because I'm still thinking about the NBA. Like, who are you kidding here? Who are we kidding? Well, apparently they're kidding a lot of people because a lot of people keep falling for this nonsense, right? So they did this, and the first question that went to my mind is there must be some legal ramifications for this. Why? Because when the act was first signed by President Donald Trump, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, it said this on congress.gov, their website. I want to read exactly what it entailed. It said, this bill requires the DOJ, Department of Justice, to publish all unclassified records, documents, communication, and investigative materials in the DOJ's possession that relate to the investigation and prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein. This includes materials that relate to Ghislaine Maxwell, flight logs and travel logs, individuals named or referenced in connection with the investigation and prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein. The DOJ is permitted to withhold certain information, such as the personal information of victims and materials, get this, that would jeopardize an active federal investigation. I want to go back to that second point through where it says individuals named or referenced, including government officials, right? Then I want to go to the final line. It says, additionally, no later than 15 days after the required publication, DOJ must report to Congress, 1, all categories of information released and withheld, 2, a summary of any redactions made, 3, a list of all government officials and politically exposed individuals named or referenced in the published materials. That's what was meant to be released. And this was signed into law on November 19th. Anyone that spent 5 seconds going through what the DOJ released last night will quickly be able to ascertain that they did none of they didn't do anything like this. It was just one big redact. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure 90% of those documents were redacted. 90% of them. So I was saying to myself, there must be some ramifications for this. And as it turns out, there are. Representative Khanna went on CNN yesterday to drop a bombshell where he is now threatening to impeach Pam Bondi and others in this DOJ for them essentially trying to cover up for certain individuals that they redacted from the Epstein files, where this thing can now get very, very serious. So for those of you who didn't hear what he had to say on CNN, I want to play his comments for you now, and then want to continue on with the show. Take a listen to his comments here.
Can I ask you on the Attorney General Pam Bondi? Some Democrats are saying she should resign, including Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Are you considering impeachment for the Attorney General if you don't feel that the Justice Department complies with your law?
Thomas Massie and I talked about it. He's working, as am I, on drafting articles of impeachment and inherent contempt. We haven't decided whether to move it forward yet, but we're in the process of doing it. And look, the problem that the Attorney General has, if you just look at the comments to our social media feed, is the amount of MAGA influencers who are upset with her. And the issue for her is not, are there going to be 212 Democrats who would support it? The issue for her is how many Republicans and MAGA supporters would support it. So my hope, because my hope has never been about Pam Bondi getting justice or Todd Blanche getting justice. My hope is she looks at this. She looks at the outrage that MAGA has. She looks at the disappointment that the survivors have, and she makes a decision over the next 2 weeks to actually start releasing these documents, because she may lose more Republicans in the House than she anticipates.
So y'all are drafting articles of impeachment. I mean, how will you decide if you're going to file that?
Well, one is a pragmatic decision in terms of impeachment is a political decision. And is there the support in the House of Representatives? I mean, Massey and I aren't going to just do something for the show of it. But my sense is, just looking at the initial reactions from people in MAGA, from survivors, is that this release is going to cause as much grief for Pam Bondi as the earlier releases. Susan Wiles said she whiffed. This isn't building more trust. And I was early in the morning, I was giving positive quotes when Blanche was on television, because he said, I'm going to release a few 100,000 documents. Someone said, well, Ro, they had to release all the documents. I said, as long as they comply with the spirit of the law, I'm fine. But this was in no way complying with the spirit of the law. Massey and I wanted to cheer for actually having released things that helped the survivors, and we were just devastated.
Well, and as Massey said tonight, he believes a future Justice Department could convict the Attorney General, because the Transparency Act is not a congressional subpoena. It doesn't expire at the end of each Congress. We will see what happens and if those articles of impeachment are filed.
Excellent. So you heard what he had to say. Now I want to read a little bit more from an article that I unearthed from Fortune magazine, and it says the following. Congressman who pushed the release Epstein files says massive blackout doesn't comply with law and exploring all options, including impeachment. Okay, let's continue on. So the Justice Department extensive redactions to the Jeffrey Epstein files on Friday don't comply with the law that Congress passed last month mandating their disclosure, according to Representative Ro Khanna. Then continues on, the California Democrat and Thomas Massey led an effort on the legislation which required that the DOJ put out its entire trove of documents today. But he blasted the document dump and singled out one file from a New York grand jury where all 119 pages were blacked out. Attorney General Pam Bondi has been obfuscating for months and called the files on Friday an incomplete release with too many redactions. The Justice Department didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. In a separate X post, Massey agreed with Khan, saying the DOJ grossly fails to comply with both the spirit and the letter of the law that President Trump signed last month. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche told Congress that the Justice Department had identified 1,200 victims of Epstein or their relatives and redacted materials that could reveal their identities, according to the New York Times. Early on Friday, Blanche told Fox News that several 100,000 pages would be released on Friday, and then over the next couple of weeks, I expect several hundreds of thousands more, he added. Now, I want to give you guys my reaction to all of this, because these people are not concerned with finding justice for the victims. What they're concerned with is concealment. And if anybody that went through those documents yesterday spent even 15 minutes doing so, you would quickly realize this has nothing to do with victims. Why? It's one thing if you say you want to protect the identity of the victims, fine. Black out all their faces, no problem. But everyone else? Well, that makes no sense. If you're going to black out the faces of the victims, and then black out the faces of the people that allegedly took advantage of them, then what exactly did you release in the end? What did you release? In my estimation, you did nothing. You did absolutely nothing. And I think Ro Khanna and his colleagues should push further. And if it means impeachment, so be it. Because these people are not serious. They're not about transparency. They're not about protecting the victim. It has nothing to do with that. Absolutely nothing to do with that at all. And if you're under the impression that these guys are doing just that, then you're lost. Or rather, you're a bloody idiot at this particular moment in time, because these guys are trying to cover for high-profile individuals. All of the people that they did release, some of the names like Michael Jackson, Chris Tucker, Diana Ross, Mick Jagger, Bill Gates. The only person out of all of those people that they released that really has any power was Bill Clinton. That was the only one. So you want to tell me Bill Clinton was the only elected official that had connections to Jeffrey Epstein? Are we kidding right now? What about the president? What about all of the photographs, the videos of him and Epstein? You want to tell me in this entire dump, you won't find anything where the president is there? Come on, who are we kidding? Now, some people have said, well, Charles, none of us expected 100% transparency, and I understand that. I understand that. But what we're seeing here is not that. These guys are trying to gaslight the American public, plainly, and that's what they're doing. And of course, you're going to have people that are going to bend themselves into pretzels, and because those people are not really concerned about the victims at all. And I got to say this. For every political leader that I supported, I never had an emotional connection to that leader the way some of these Trump supporters feel to Donald Trump. They have this emotional connection to him, which I don't understand. Why would you be emotionally invested in a politician? Like, are you even serious? A politician? Don't you know the reputation of politicians all over the world? But these guys have this kind of like emotional connection to. He's a politician. Like, I'm confused here. You have some people that are so emotionally invested in it that anything, even if there's evidence right in front of their faces, they don't want to believe it. Oh, it's a hoax. It's this, is that, is this, is that. Does any of this make sense? Any of it? People are talking about, oh, why didn't Joe Biden release the files? Why didn't he release the file? Please, can you help for our edification? What administration prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell? Can you just raise your hand and let me know? Was it not the Biden administration? Wasn't it their DOJ that did that? And don't you know you can't release files when there's an ongoing investigation? I believe Ghislaine Maxwell, I don't remember the year. I think it was Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced on June 28, 2022. Who was president during that time? Was it Donald Trump? Of course it wasn't. Of course it wasn't. But beyond that, the president ran on this issue and did everything in his power to ensure that the files were not released. And his supporters will look at this and say, yeah, this sounds about right. Like, it's like, you can't make this stuff up. You can't make it up anymore. Do you know why? Because they're emotionally invested, and that's a problem. That is a problem. You're meant to hold your leaders accountable. That's what you ought to do. And the one time that they tried to do that, he scolded them and said, you're not my real supporter. What? Because your supporters are asking you to do the thing you ran on? Are you even joking? So yes, there's going to be more. If these people don't shape up and actually start releasing some real information to the public, people, and they just conveniently put Clinton in there. Conveniently put Clinton in there. That's all. Just as if to say, oh, only Democrats were involved. And if you believe there's only Democratic elected officials that had ties to Jeffrey Epstein, then you're a bloody idiot. Plain and simple. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you guys on the next show. I'm out. Peace.